In tonight's news, His Majesty the King begins an international tour to mobilize support for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. His Majesty attends a ceremony marking the occasion of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. And 130 Palestinians are killed and 170 injured in Israeli strikes on Gaza in the past 24 hours. Good evening, I'm Mahdi Dawood. His Majesty King Abdullah departed on a tour that includes the United States, Canada, France, and Germany. During his tour, King Abdullah will mobilize international support for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the protection of civilians, and the provision of sufficient and sustainable humanitarian aid. His Majesty's tour will also focus on the importance of creating a political horizon that leads to a comprehensive settlement that ends the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. In Washington, D.C., King Abdullah is scheduled to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden and senior administration officials and several members of Congress. In Ottawa, the King will meet with Canada Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, while in Paris, the King will meet with French President Emmanuel Macron. In Germany, His Majesty will participate in the 60th Munich Security Conference and will meet with a number of senior European and international officials on its sidelines. His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin Al-Hussein was sworn in as regent in the presence of cabinet members. His Majesty King Abdullah attended a ceremony marking the occasion of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. The ceremony at Al-Husayniyya Palace was attended by members of the royal family, heads of authorities, and several senior officials and officers. In remarks at the ceremony, Awqaf Minister Muhammad Khalaili said Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj is an occasion to remember Jordan's historic and spiritual responsibility towards Islamic and Christian holy sites in Jerusalem and Palestine. Marked on the 27th of Rajab, the 7th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj refers to the nocturnal journey of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, from the Grand Mosque in Mecca to Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, from where he ascended to heaven. On the occasion of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, His Majesty King Abdullah and His Royal Highness Crown Prince Hussein received cables from senior officials and officers. In the cables, the officials said the occasion symbolized the importance of Al-Aqsa Mosque in Islam, highlighting His Majesty's role as custodian of holy sites in Jerusalem and his efforts to safeguard the identity of the holy city. The Gaza Health Ministry said 130 Palestinians were killed and 170 injured in Israeli strikes on Gaza in the past 24 hours. The ministry said at least 27,840 Palestinians have been killed and 67,317 have been wounded since October 7th. Israeli occupation forces shot and killed a Palestinian civilian in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus. In a separate incident, a Palestinian young man died northwest of Ramallah as a result of wounds he sustained 2 weeks ago by occupation forces. A U.S. airstrike killed a commander of a pro-Iran armed group in eastern Baghdad. The U.S. military said the commander from Kataib Hezbollah was responsible for directly planning and participating in attacks on U.S. forces in the region. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's military spokesman said repeated U.S. strikes against Iran-backed armed groups in Iraq are pushing the government to end the mission of the U.S.-led coalition in the country. That's all for tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.